Hey friends, I'm going to give it a minute for one or two to come in. I just saw that Brian Staveley was chatting with Bob Nodell from Globebusters, so and he had a couple of hundred watching live, which is impressive. I mean, Brian deserves the support. He's tireless, and of course Bob is a giant of the Flat Earth movement. But this is our last full day here at the stately home that we've been staying at. Well, in the courtyard, in the stables of the stately home. It's our last full day, so I was keen to do just a kind of farewell. It's been good. We'll have to see what comes next, kind of thing. Just what's that saying? Did you see that? What? I just want to say quickly. My friend or connection through Flat Earth, Tom, who'd had the bypass, he's still heart bypass. He's still well, actually, and he's still getting a lot of kickback, like viruses and flus and things like that that are holding him in the hospital and stopping his recovery. So my thoughts are with him and his wife Jerry, and his family. It's shit, and I was thinking about the people in my street, Good Heart Way, before the house we had. How many people around me had cancer. Neighbors, Jim to the left, the lady over the road whose name right now escapes me, but there's a few of them actually just immediately around me. This aside from Shirley's husband, who obviously died he got cancer and died. Andrea's father. It's these are where the horror stories are. I was talking about the veterans the other day, the number of suicides you get from that. Cancer, I mean, children's wards are being built, wards for children full of cancer, full of children with cancer. But the coronavirus continues to kind of dominate people's fears and so on. Distraction, and manipulation and control, and increased control, and maybe it'll all evaporate quite quickly, or maybe not. Who knows? I'm not letting it restrict my thinking in terms of where we go next and our freedom to move. So we'll see where that all ends up. Hey Mark. I think I know who that is. But my eyesight, Effie 4.4. Oh, sorry. Hey Mark, so yeah, about that 0.62, mate. I think we are trying to scale up a big circle. The challenge is to recognize how much steepness is involved in a sphere, and spheres are spheres. They have a significant amount of rotundity to them. bendicity, and that will not alter simply because the item is much bigger. It's still extremely sharply steep. And you don't get to depress it. I think this is the big psychology. This is the big part of the psychology is that relativity, the theory of, gives you the option of flattening it just where you happen to stand. Oh, and your throwaway comment about Andrea being the girl at the party who doesn't let me get a word in edgewise caused her to do her own video for her own channel, Authentic Feminine, which is a really good thing, because she needs to allow her voice to be heard, as do we all. But we've been so much of us have been suppressed that we don't really speak our truth, and we need to get into that more and more. I was with some pals last night up here in Norfolk. Just a quick shout out, Nigel, Simon, Aid, Andy, and we were having a coffee at the pub after a little dinner around Simon's place, and Simon and his wife Courtney, and they have a little flat baby, Mia, and we were talking about how this has been, where are we going and what are we going to do with this? What are we to do with this information, and where does it lead us? A lot of uncertainty, but I guess there is the possibility that you have an end times thing, or there's a possibility that you have hundreds of years or thousands of years ahead of us before humanity itself is ready to reclaim its rightful place as, the emissaries of the Most High. I just saw I'm still subscribed to the Crow House, despite the guy's, mental flip-flopping and, whatever. Max Eigen, Earth is flat, but it's also a ball. It's a flattened ball. It's a ball that's flat. You're talking balls, Max. But I just saw a post from him saying, "Rise up against the tyranny of government," and so on. And he's got a picture of a gallows and a noose and stuff, and it says government repair kit or something. I think it's true that the government are out of hand. I think it's true that the government is a controlled body that is seemingly working for a different agenda, some hidden hand, even if they don't realize it, even if the average politician doesn't know diddly squat. I think that there is this hidden agenda, and there is a need for better governance. But I was talking to the manager here yesterday, and John, really nice guy, ex-military, and Christian, and his view is like so many people's views, which is that ultimately we need policing. We were talking about health and safety. I was talking about legislation to do with registration for every kind of job. Pretty much any job these days needs to have some sort of state-sponsored, state sign-off. And I was talking about how my fitness qualifications would be out of date within a couple of years if I didn't do refresher courses sponsored by them. But you need that, because if you don't have that, then technology moves on or whatever, and knowledge moves on, and people are left behind. Well, I think that ultimately anyone who's good at their job and cares about their job will maintain their ability to do the job. So if technology, like they mentioned, the electrician, if new equipment and new types of things come on board, then they're going to have to learn through trade magazines, through maybe going on a course or whatever. They might need to learn how to do that, or they may already have the skills just to work it out for themselves. But now we have this nanny state mindset in which we need a nanny to make sure that him and her and them have done the right thing. Well, I think this is where the problem is that it's fair to say that there are plenty of untrustworthy people in our society, and that's why we need policing, that's why we need jails, that's why we need government with stricter and stricter guidelines, regulations, and rules. Well, therein lies the rub, my friends, because whilst the majority of people think that, then enough will go and vote, enough will empower this system and see this system as simply needing the new right guy, the new Trump, the new Boris Johnson, the new whoever, they think is going to be the savior of the next. I was talking to a young philosophy student in the dining hall the other day, an American dude, and he was absolutely certain that the problem in America wasn't Trump. The problem was that they didn't have Bernie Sanders in power. And all they needed to do was get Bernie Sanders in power, and the world would be a better place. And so it'll go round and round. And I think that having a band of ragingly angry voters who've realized that there is horror pedophilia and horror financial scammery and horror deaths through war and veterans suiciding themselves and all the sort of pitchforks and torches storming onto Downing Street or Washington Street, to go and root out the White House and whatnot. Or in Australia, to go down Canberra, that's where your parliament is, in Canberra. That's what Max wants, all the Australians to band together and go and hang the current government. Well, that sounds to me like a New World Order type solution. That sounds to me like exactly what the system wants, is that if they want people to be angry, if they want people to learn about Podesta and Pizzagate and QAnon and all these sorts of things and so on, and then they want to lead a band of rabble to create some kind of violent uprising, and from that will be born the savior that the Rothschild Institute of Bill Gates and so on has always been designing for. Another relative of the Bush family, no doubt. Or maybe John F. Kennedy, maybe a Kennedy family. No, I don't mean John F. Kennedy himself. He's probably too old now to fill the role, but one of his children or something to kind of be all right. They did it with vaccines in America. Trump promised that he would sort out the vaccine issue and stop. He accepted that mums were saying their children were harmed by vaccines. So whilst he wasn't president, he said he would do something about it in a positive way. And once he was president, he appointed Robert Kennedy or RFK, I think his initials, and he was going to be the vaccine czar who was going to hopefully make things better in that respect. And of course, probably already that the Americans now have even more draconian strictness when it comes to vaccines and what your child can or can't do if they haven't been vaccinated. And of course, with this beer virus, the coronavirus, they now are, floating ideas about, you can't travel if you haven't got this vaccination. I mean, that's very third world. That's very African third world kind of talk, isn't it? So this is where the world is going, and I don't think Max Egan is at all right to be saying that, because truthfully, like I say, the people want to be controlled. It's not me, it's them, it's the other lot over there. They need vaccinating, they need regulating, they need imprisoning. Not me, because I'm fine, Jack. That's the mindset, hey? So until people are doing the work inside for themselves, within themselves, it can't be changed other than to have the same replacement, or a replacement by the same ultimately the same self-serving power, self-interested power. And in a way, like for now, I feel like, look, if this system needs to carry on doing what it's got to do, then I'm just going to step aside and let it carry on doing what it's going to do. I'm going to do the work on me. I'm going to, try and raise the vibration through whatever means that I can do that. And then from there, see what happens. If it's my lifetime, if it's my children's lifetime, if it's 1,000 years from now, I don't know. But really, trying to burn down the parliament or whatever is really not gonna, I think, exactly what they want. Anyway, you might have missed the beginning of this. I started this live realizing that Brian Staveley was talking to Bob from Globebusters, and obviously a lot of people are, interested in that conversation. So I had a conversation with Bob just the other day, actually. You might have heard me blabbering on about it, but it was on Jeranism, talking about the 8 inches per mile squared and how ridiculous it is. And yeah, I was surprised actually that Bob was, although he was the one who instigated me having the conversation on Jeranism, and he's been very supportive and instrumental in that. And he himself says, he thinks there's a problem with the 8 inches. He's not willing to kind of push the 8 inches overboard and drown it. Because that's really what I think needs to happen, is that even if we don't know if it's 0.6 or 0.3 or 0.1 or whatever, it is that the exponentially steeper globe is not a reality or not a theoretical possibility, because a globe, a sphere, a circle, needs to have the same bendicity, rotundity and roundness and sphericity throughout its travel, throughout its its ball. The observer coming in after the fact, to have a little looky-see see how much curvature is there, they shouldn't have any bearing on it. What would, I agree, accept absolutely, would be the closeness to which the surface would reduce the amount of sphericity you would see. But fundamentally, the sphericity is a fixed ratio. And so you work back from that. You say, okay, what's the fixed rate? What's the formula? What's the ratio? And then how much does a viewer at 6 foot, at 100 foot, see of that? What is their specific vision of that? So I'm going on the plain truth, assuming that our timelines are all right and we get it right this time, because I was due to go on the plain truth about 1.5 years ago, or maybe a year ago, I don't know, but that never came off. So I forget the guy's name now. Might be Scott, but I'm not sure. Anyway, he was in my comment section yesterday, and I said, hey, I like your musings. I said, well, why don't we have that long overdue chat? Because I really want to talk more about the 8 inches. And he was like, yeah, he's up for that. So I don't know if it's going to be a live thing or just a recorded thing, and then he'll dump it later onto the net. So we'll see. The Plain Truth. I'm sure most of you are subscribed to his channel. Okay, let me say hello. Yeah, Mark. All the way back to the beginning. Hey, Daniel. Kruger in the house. I was talking about Kruger Rands last night, and Daniel here is a Kruger, and the true legitimate president of South Africa in the late 1800s was a guy called Paul Kruger. He was a like a farmer type, Dutch heritage kind of guy who might have been seen as like a Huguenot, someone who was trying to get away from the Vatican, get away from the royal control, and they set up the Orange Free State and the Transvaal Republic. They did get permission from the authorities to set themselves up as homelands, nation states on their own. But I think the story is that the gold attracted the royals or the crown or the British establishment to come back and wipe out the Boers as much as they could. 2 Boer wars. Boer stands for the word farmer, and in the first Boer War, the British got beaten by dudes who were just farmers with their guns and a little bit of savvy about the local conditions. The British turned up in their red coats, try to stomp across the heat of South Africa. Anyway, Daniel and I I was hoping to spend some time with Daniel in Portugal this month coming up, but it just hasn't come off for various reasons, mainly to do with money. But I'm sure that in good time, my friend, I will be hanging with you and enjoying some beautiful views. Yeah. Hey, James. UK222. Nice to see you, Tam. Hope you're well down there, over there. And who else? Voynick, hello, my friend. Hey, Martin. Nice. Thanks for stopping by. I saw you were in the chat there at Brian's place. I had my wrench taken away from me by Brian. I wonder if that was automatic or perhaps I haven't gone deep enough down the Mandela hole with him. I don't know. Anyway. You think you're, I don't know if this guy's talking to me. Flat Earth British think tank. Happy day, dudes. Is that Flat Earth British tank? Is that I don't know whether that's Lee or Martin. Hi, Nicholas. How you doing, my friend? You think your great-great-grandmother is Irish? Atheism is a dying religion. I'm not sure who you're talking to. Sunny day in North Staffordshire. Yeah, hi guys. Well, I really appreciate you coming by. And hey, Nicholas. Jimmy, morning all. Is there anything else? Trump and Hillary cousins. Yeah, well, that's not really a stretch, mate. We accept that. And you can actually offer that information to mainstream kind of voters and say, hey, for a system that's meant to be just like free and fair and open to all, how is it that almost all presidents, if not all of them, are linked back to the same kind of bloodline in the UK, royal European bloodlines and stuff, if it's not some kind of control system. But it's just and I've seen it with some of the conversations I had in the staff room here, the cognitive dissonance, and I haven't taken these folks too deeply down too many rabbit holes, but the cognitive dissonance really, like, you see the brain slips into neutral for just a brief second, just to protect the narrative in there, and then they'll just plow on with something else. But it's almost as though you didn't speak, or you spoke in a foreign language they didn't understand. That. I've had that quite a few times actually, in my conversations here. I've only really taken one lad, he's the chef, Danny, down some of the very deeper rabbit holes, and got as far as Flat Earth, and it didn't take me long to get to Flat Earth with him, but some of the other deeper stuff. And he's a very thoughtful kind of guy, and he's chewing over a lot of it. He's taken it really on the chin quite well, to be fair. But yeah, in the main, it's cognitive dissonance. And I'm going to do a little doco on this house we've been staying at. I am absolutely convinced now. Now, absolutely is maybe too strong a word. I am very convinced that this building predates the history that they tell us about. And this building is claimed to be 220, 240 years old. I reckon that it predates that given history. And it's significant because of who's involved in it and what his involvement is in the British establishment in the late 17th, early 18th century. Sorry, late 18th, early 19th century. So in the period 1790, 1820, something like that, which we all know is sort of, well, we don't all know, but we think is a key window for the re-establishment of the status quo post some kind of event, flooding or whatever. And I think that I can demonstrate with enough physical evidence that the building that we're looking at today, that is sold to us as a 1700s building, was simply reclad. Was simply reclad. So if it's Martin or Lee from the Great British Think Tank and you're still there, mate, please keep a lookout for that. I think your subject group or the people who are interested in the subject will absolutely be fascinated by the links and the connections and the evidence that I can offer to suggest that the original building is hiding behind a modern cladding, and that with a few clever alterations and misdirections, that the facade is perhaps the original front of the building has been perhaps moved to what was the side of the building. The side of the building, which by the way is the only known historical image of the earlier building that is said to have gone away and is said to be a few hundred meters perhaps away from where this building is, but it's unknown where the foundations are and where the original building is. That there is one painting or one picture of the original pre-1750s building. And I think that I can demonstrate how that building is still here, but it's just hidden under a modern cladding. Modern, I mean a 200-year-old cladding. And that with clever alterations, they have obfuscated the true history of it. Now, why does it matter? Well, one, because this guy who does the work goes on to do some very famous buildings. This guy has a museum in his name. He is very well known in the establishment, becomes a sir or a lord, no, I think sir. And goes on, I think, to obfuscate the truth about a number of historic buildings in London, very important buildings. So what does that mean? It means that some of these, if this building is 1750s, early 1700s, maybe even before, then it is sort of, it makes a mockery of, or it changes the nature of the history as we're being taught it. And I think we can evidence that. We're onto a good thing. So look out for that, Martin Leedker and Lee, my friend. Lee is Flat Earth British sub, who asked me a weird question the other day. Am I a flat earther? Lee, I met in a hospital one day. I was looking after my father-in-law on the day he died, and I met Lee in a hospital because he happened to be in there doing some water testing. And I just saw this face walk past in the corridor, and I'm like, shit, I know that guy. He was Flat Earth British sub. I was his 20th subscriber. He's now got 10,000, 15,000. And he was my first subscriber because he was like, "Hey man, you've got to start a channel, dude." And I'd been thinking about it, thinking about it. I already had the David Mannel channel, but I wasn't doing anything with it, really. Um, and obviously, as I've said before, I wanted to shed the military veterans that were giving me such a hard time because I was leaving the farm. So there you go. That's that. Oh, hey, it's Martin, my friend. Thanks, my friend. Well, I really think that this will be, I've got 50 little clips from inside and around this house. I've been able to do a very thorough and up close investigation. I find variations. I mean, aside from all the different floor levels, which are hard to sort of share in a documentary, it's only when you walk around the house you go, oh, I'm up here, down there, up here, or the floor level just alters a bit here, or there's a stairwell that leads into the ceiling. There's a window on the front face of the building. They've got like 4 windows across like this, and one of the windows is set lower than some of the others. It's like the brickwork changes here and there and everywhere. But I can prove that the modern skin is hiding a red brick, a very old red brick, which I think is the original. Anyway, I think once I put all these clips together over the next few weeks, I'll do a little doco, and hopefully it'll be, what is it you call it, Mon? Juice or whatever, it'll grease the wheels for a lot of conversations. And I love this building, and I mean the people here no ill will because they've been very generous this month. Truthfully, this month has been, well, in Andrea's words, the safest she's felt in years. Because like in our home prior to leaving the house last September, we had we'd endured years of fighting off the bailiffs and the debt collection companies and stuff like that. We were slipping down a dark slope, and we were month to month to month, week and week. Are we going to find the rent? Are we going to find the rent? Kind of thing. And so that lack of security is a killer. But for my wife, then she she's felt that viscerally, and then of course these last 5 months have been a little bit hectic. So this month here we've had at this place has been, aside from having a fire to keep me warm, has been absolutely epic, in Martin's words, and I think that it has helped us both. It has helped us both very much. I feel more myself, more rested, more youthful than I did when I arrived, and it's been a bit of a reset for us. So, and of course, it gave me time to sit down and think about the 8 inches per mile squared. Guys, that's definitely wrong. And that I just want to finish saying about the people at the house, I really hope that they never feel like I sold them out, because if anything, that I think this building has far more impressive a history than the one that we're told. People may not like to hear stuff that they haven't been taught by their masters, but that's what we're here for, is to reframe the reality and change the paradigm. And we're only going to do that if we get to the truth about who we are, what we are, where we come from, how this game is being rigged, run, and controlled. But the 8 inches, I'm sorry I ever went down, I'm sorry I believed that, but it is what it is. And if we can demonstrate that the 8 inches is way off, it will mean that all the ball supporters who have continued to push the 8 inch, or 7.98, or Dick West, whatever it is, the height of the thing and the thing and thing, the observer and all this crap. It will mean all of them will have even more egg on their face than we might if we've been pushing the 8 inch per mile squared. But you cannot have an exponential model. I think that I won't belabor it. I say again, I'm on the Plain Truth this afternoon, that channel, the Plain Truth. The guy who's got the Michelangelo picture as its thumbnail. I'm on that later today, assuming we meet up, and I'll be talking about it more. I got good traction, I thought, from the Jeranism interview or conversation, and I've had a bunch of people come to me with, you're right with the 0.6 or the 0.32 might be more right, or we can see that the exponential model has major flaws, and the 8 inches per mile squared does this. And sorry, Jack, for not referencing your drawings a bit more. I obviously can't print anything off where I am. I don't have any capacity for that, so I didn't have it to show people. And of course, when I was on Jaren's thing, I was using Skype, which I'd only installed a few hours earlier, because I didn't actually know I was on the Jaren thing. I thought I was, but I hadn't heard back from them. But I didn't know that I was meant to send a certain thing to, or join Skype or whatever. So anyway, I got Andrea to sign me out to Skype about 2 or 3 hours before the show, and I was ill prepared, but I've had some good feedback. Anyway, Jack, the point I think you were saying, like in your drawings, because as I established, there I think the first 1,000 miles on the 8 inch per mile squared model is about 140 miles of curvature, of downness. That's 140 miles that way, and 140 miles for 1,000 miles in that way, and in every direction around me. So where we acknowledge you've got to go down 4,000 miles to the equator, essentially, we're saying that where I stand, for 2,000 miles, there's only a total of 280 miles of curvature, which, if you think about it, is like putting a balloon or a tire on the ground and flattening a big section of that tire to the ground. So yeah, this stay here has been fantastic for me, and the next step, we'll see. I'm down to London tomorrow, and a few days in London. Offload my older boy back to uni at Bournemouth. Go and see Jessica over at Canterbury. Hopefully, I'll be seeing Mary Jane, Mez, and Luke about maybe getting a night or two over with them in Canterbury. And then we'll see what next week brings. We got some possible plans in the offing. I'll talk more about that as the rest of the weekend unfolds. These are exciting times. And I'm feeling more buoyed up. I've really enjoyed meeting with some of the local lads here. I'm sorry I didn't get to see all the Norfolk guys that have been in touch. I do apologize for not being able to make all of those meetings happen. But we need this. We need a coming together. We need a network. We need to enable each other to feel supported, to be, and I've been supported by the community. That we've survived, or we've kept going this long, that we've managed not to have to cave in and go cap in hand to the system and beg for a home and a little bit of money. It has been a massive, well, not only like saves us from the ignominy of going back to the beast and being within that negative spiral, but it also meant that this burgeoning truth, enlightenment, upgrading, uplifting, or whatever, is actually much more than simply a few crazies sitting in a corner fantasizing about flat water. This is something far more meaningful, and I think that what I'm starting to feel is that I have the strength or the capability to push on, to go the next stage, go the next level, and do the things that need to be done. I'm thinking about John F. Kennedy's, because I said to the guys last night, by the way, John F. Kennedy didn't die, at Dealey Plaza. I think there was a dummy that got exploded. Which, it still takes, it still takes a lot of truth seekers by surprise to realize that, because like me, I was like, that was something that I was certain of, is that John F. Kennedy was a good guy, one of us, and he was definitely killed. But it made me think about his speech, going, because he lied about going to the moon. He probably knew that we couldn't go to the moon, and the moon is some kind of light or an energy, not a rock. But he's like, we're gonna go to the moon and do the other things, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. I love the way he says that, hard. I think that's a Boston thing, or New York thing, but not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Well, some of this is fucking hard, and and we must do this despite it being hard. But hard things are easier to do when there's more than one of you, and there's definitely more than one of us. We are a growing. I mean, as I said, Brian had 240 people in his chat room just now before I started the stream, which is fantastic for him. Darren, he's got 150,000 subscribers, and the video that I did with him had 11,000 people click on it by the end of the weekend, and it generated about 70 or 80 new clickers onto this channel. So if you're one of those people, I welcome you to the Trinity 4 channel. Hello, Darren. You would not want me to turn the camera around now. Well, yeah. So welcome if you're one of those newer visitors to the channel. I hope that the positivity and the energy is right, and it adds some value. And if you think there's anything that I need to know that I don't, then please feel free to share that. I had a few people who think that they live on a ball come and offer me some thoughts, but in the main, it's a lot of positive, good thinking people who are eager to see the hard work done. So I want to thank you for your support in that case. Let me just see. John F. Kennedy is President Carter simple. Well, maybe, but I'm more inclined to say that he was a stand-in, sometimes a fill-in, just as a bit of a joke for Carter, but that he was Carter. Okay, I've got this Karen Petit, who runs the Unscrambled channel and Sun and Moon Family Group. She sent me this overlay of Donald Trump and Elvis Presley, and heck, they have a very similar nose, very similar facial structure, and so on. You could be forgiven for thinking they are the same person, and wouldn't it just be the kind of sweet bullshittery irony or whatever that the system does, is that they had this black-haired dude crooner who was an absolute like sweetheart to the masses, replaced with this super blonded dude who was all capitalist and greed and stuff like that, and now he's got people adoring him or hating him, and they possibly loved or hated or loved the Elvis character, So anyway, I mean, these things are just fascinating for my mind. It's not things that I want to lose sleep over. They're just fascinations for me. What's important, I think, is for me anyway, is to recognize that the savior is not coming from within the establishment. So if I'm wrong about Q one day, I will put a big sign up on my head and say I was wrong about Q. But if Q is going to bamboozle people, it's going to offer what looks like some really good proof that it's legit. And so if the grand deception or the great delusion is going to look like, a deep state solution has been found, and here we are, we've gotten rid of the rottenness that was, and then the deep state have established a replacement for that. Thanks to Q and all those that worked on behalf of Q, well, I would definitely think that was more control. So don't buy the Q. Well, you must work it out for yourself.
Yeah,
but in my view, my view, Q is a time waster. Because actually, if you spend a lot of time, to work with Q, or to sort of, to be absorbed by Q, is a bit like watching a soap opera, or the Game of Thrones box set, where there's hundreds of hours have to be committed to this knowledge. And I think what I feel, because I saw my friend Roxanne doing something the other day, and it made Andrea and I felt a little bit sad for her, that she was going through some difficulties, emotional difficulties, and we are all. But if we spend our time watching Game of Thrones, then we don't spend our time doing that inner soul work that we're meant to be, we're slated to do. It's on the cue card, do the inner work, to stop focusing so much on we do need to know what's going on in the world, but we don't need to lose ourselves in it. We need to work on the inner self. That's that. Oh. Hey, my good wife has come to join me. Good morning.
Can I
Ooh, Mark Melbourne's here. You might need to mind yourself, darling. I got no issue. It's all good. Yeah.
Sorry, that's not going to happen.
Saved by the boy.
Yeah.
Alexander's just woken up. We can hear him. So let me just say some hellos. Flat Accord Music. Hello, my friend. You see a puppy? That's Pebbles. Hi, Gracie Voynick. Good day to you, my friend. Sending blessings, Dave. Thank you. From the Alkaline Human. Hello, mate. Q is another form of fear controlling the movement, and another fake rabbit hole. Yeah, and I think because people want to feel like there is progress, there is change. Hello, baby boy. There is progress, and someone is doing something, because that's why we vote. Why people vote is because they're given a new savior, and they go off and they wait for her to do the magic over the next few years, and that's, I think, what Q is. So don't lose yourself there.
If you don't show, I could just
contribute.
Well, I just had my own experience during the night.
That's right. See, yeah. Say hello to Kat for us. You had your own experience through the night.
Well, in regards to sort of looking for something out of.
Cheers, Nicholas.
Looking for something outwardly.
Yeah. I'm waiting for you to talk, darling.
We're obviously moving on from here, and that, for me.
You can see. Go on.
And that for me brings up certain feelings, and I was starting to get caught up in the feelings of what's next, and wanting a home, and wanting all those kind of things, and I was those feelings were starting to build in me, and of course you're then looking for something outside of you to fix that, to make it better, to stop those feelings of vulnerability or anyway, whatever the feelings are, you want the external savior, because the feelings are uncomfortable. And then I kind of flipped it and thought, no, hold on a second. It's actually all those things that I'm looking for, the feeling of being home, the stability, the love, the feeling safe, all those things. Actually, they're something I give to myself. There's something that I feel in me. I give myself the calmness. I can give myself that feeling of being home in myself, trusting myself. Feeling happiness. all those things are things that I have to find within. They're not something I find in the external. Yes, does then the external manifest in terms of whatever that means for me, but I don't need to seek those things out of me. I need to find them in me.
Yeah, but I think
The moment I had that conversation with myself and went to seek those things in me, so went to seek the calm, went to seek the feeling of I'm here for me, then those external things weren't so frightening, or wouldn't make me feel I was able to calm the fears that I have about the what next.
yeah, but we have to know that the system has designed for different people a different journey of fear mongering and so on, because we know that the fear is the way that they stop our vibration from being in the right place, so that we can be the creators that we're designed to be, that we were always intended to be. Are we coming out of a dark age? Is it going to take 100 years, 10 years, 1 year? These are things that are not for us to know. We don't know the time and so on. However, despite that, we know that we should be creating that right environment for us. So it's your soul, it's your vibration that matters much more than the things that are outside in the world. And
but we were saying last night, weren't we, that actually to be creative, to be happy, to find enjoyment, to be calm, to find that stillness, find all those kind of things. You can't, when you're stressed or when you're in fear, you can't attach to those things. You can't find that in you. So if you are looking at the system or the outside, which offers you all number of areas of fear, or lack, or scarcity, or stress, or darkness, and then yes, you can't tap into any of those things. So
it's wicked hard. Yeah. No, you can't tap into those things. And so, I just want to say thank you to all of those people involved that have supported us financially, supported us emotionally, and in this current situation, given us this place where we could catch our breath and finally start to feel a little bit more kind of secure in life. Obviously, we don't know what's around the corner, but it does certainly help to come up for air and really catch a good breath before the next wave arrives. Hopefully we'll be strong enough to swim with the wave rather than get subsumed by it.
Well, I think for me, what it's allowed me to do is have the time to go do more inward, which then means I have the strength to have faith in what comes next.
Yeah. So it's a good feeling, and one that I haven't really had in such abundance for quite some time. I've had the opportunity to do some good physical work while we've been here, get some fantastic fresh air, get away from the EMFs, get away from the noisy sirens and all that sort of thing, which actually, until you go back into the town, you don't realize is not there. But once you hear it again, it's immediately troubling to the system. So do what you can, my friends, to mitigate those challenging aspects of your own life. Don't feel like you're under like so much pressure that there's no time to make any changes. I think we do one step at a time, one day at a time, like an alcoholic breaking away from their poison. It is a one step at a time, one day at a time, and each day doesn't work as well as the one before, but there's good days still to come ahead. So I'm really looking forward to this spring or this summer, and really looking forward to doing much more for the community or towards the community's good growth and so on. And lifting the lid, hey. Hi, friend. Sending much peace and love. And Robin, thank you for all your help at the beginning of this year, or the end of last year, I think, trying to help us find a place to stay. Really, that it was remarkable and will never be forgotten. So, thanks for that, and good luck to you, my friend. Astro King, hello, my friend. Hi, Gracie, and Radical Music. Is Miss Chine in the room, I see? Hello, Miss Chine. Nice to see you, friend. Have you ever... so this says, is it IG something ES television at Squirrel Sniper? Hi, Nathan. Have you ever lied? Well, of course, we've all lied. Have you ever stolen anything? Well, we are judged by the 10 Commandments. We are doomed for the lake of fire, and Lucifer and the Illuminati has succeeded. You think you breathe? You think you breathe oxygen? You don't. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's some sort of electrical thing that's probably going on in the lungs. Most of our science, biology and so on, geology, all of these things have been sort of reverse engineered to tell a certain story. Somebody kindly sent me a link to a Wikipedia entry on Jewish something, right? Exceptional something on, and how many aspects of our science have been created by connections of the Einstein and the Niels Bohr and so many of the biggest names of our theoretical science that comes from the same kind of club. So yeah, we don't necessarily do that. Yes, we all lie, we all whatever, but at the end of the day, my view is that, for what it's worth, my view is that there's no Puritanism and perfectionism is not necessary. We are here to have some kind of experience, and you might be the biggest deceiver that lives. That is meant to be your test. Are you going to learn from that, or are you going to end your time here still deceiving and lying and cheating and so on? What that means to you in the afterlife, I don't know. And I don't think, from my experience of the DMT, I don't think that the Catholic conception of Hades and hell and lakes of fire and brimstone and all that sort of stuff is real. Actually, just for what it's worth, I think that it's it's all forgiven at your death, and you pass back over. Now, is there some kind of soul stain that occurs if you end up dwelling in the dark here? Yes. Do you come back? Perhaps. Yes. Do you come back in the dark team instead of the light team, and more inclined to darkness and so on, and then have a harder time trying to make your way back to the light? Possibly. But the heaven and hell thing, I think that's probably this could be that place. This could be the heaven or the hell. But yeah, when I had the DMT, it was like I died. It was, as I say to people, it's like a near-death experience. And during that near-death experience, all the bad deeds or all the ill deeds of my life or from the human story were purged from me in about 30 seconds, 20 seconds. Just horror. I mean, it was the most horror. I'm screaming. My mouth is as wide open as it can possibly go. I remember feeling that. My mouth is like, my jaw is going to break. It is, It was so much hell was, and then it passed. And then I was in peace, and I was in love. Total love. Because the Most High, the creator of this world, it comes from love. It is actually a love-based system. We've been thrown into some kind of hell down here, some kind of, and that hell could change over thousands of years to become a heaven or an Eden again. But the point is that we've been... Yeah? Look at that beautiful boy. That's my beautiful boy, Zizi. Hello. Hello, Zizi. Yeah. Let's go. We're all packing up here, so it's a bit of a mess. Anyway, so I don't try and buy into the biblical thing.
Let's go.
You want to do letter school? Okay. Well, I think mommy's going to set it up on her phone for you.
Lights.
Oh, with the light.
Here you go.
This little boy is. He's had actually. This has been good for him. You know. This morning I heard him laughing
Go.
during his dreaming. He was laughing, and I think when we arrived here, his dreams didn't involve much laughter. It was more like. So, you know, this has settled him down. This has given him a base to feel comfortable at for a while. So, happy days, my friends. Happy days. And I wish happy days for you too.
Can I say something about the darkness?
Yeah, because I'm going to be ending the stream soon.
I just think that if we focus too much time on the darkness, that's kind of where our mind is. I think we've got to focus on the light too, and love and those kind of things, so we can bring more of that about. So you know, it's not to excuse it. It's not to ignore it, but it's also we can be kind of too focused on the evil or the bad that's going on.
Yeah, just on that point about someone saying about heaven is above and hell is below and earth is the center. Okay. But, you know, the thing is that we live in a hot and cold, negative, positive, masculine, feminine, you know, good and ugly kind of paradigm. And I think there is the need for that kind of tension between the dark and the light in some way, you know. So, you know, we don't need to fear it. It is what it is. The night is the night, and, you know, eventually it passes and the day returns. So, I hope that's useful. But I think I'm going to call it a day there. As I said, I'll be doing the plain truth thing. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, well, just one last thing. I just personally want to say thank you to everybody who supported us, most especially because we're moving on from here. The three guys that helped organize this for us, but everybody else, whether it be financially, which obviously is huge, but you know, just kind words and support. And even when I did my little video, if Mark's there, you inspired me to do my own video, and I'll be doing another one today. Yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you. We really appreciate it. I'm very grateful. Yeah, it's really humbled us, but just thank you. It's means a lot to us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're not in a position where we're able to stop asking people for financial support. We have an ongoing need for some financial support. So if Zenith actually very kindly gave us $200 the other day, which is a huge contribution. We used 180 of that to pay for our storage locker, for where our stuff is being kept. So although it's a lot of money, it's all gone. Yeah, just, I mean, if you're one of those people who's been wanting to throw something at the trinityforman@gmail.com on PayPal, then please feel free to do so. We will be setting up the Patreon soon, and I know Leek's meant to be working on that. Yeah, that's, I guess, we've had an awesome time, and it's been great being able to do these live streams and have time to kind of establish ourselves and reinforce who we are and connect with you in a deeper way. And some of those connections are growing deeper by the week and by the month. So we look forward to what the 2020 will bring us.
Yeah, we're excited. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah, well, we'll see you guys soon, yeah? Any last goodbyes? Later, folks, yeah. Shine lots of love to you guys and all in the chat. All right, friends. You take care. Lots of hearts there from this Shine. Thank you. You take care, friends. It is all about love. Love is all we need. Be well.